Well, hello, friends. Mark Holmes here, and I, as always, want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, this literally does not work. All right, we have some breaking news on the NFL, much anticipated by the teams because they want to know exactly where the salary cap was going to go. One of the reasons that I think a lot of teams were waiting to do a lot of moves and things are they want to know exactly how much money they have to spend. Now, understand, last year we were at 198 million, but because of the pandemic, we know that the NFL and the NFLPA were worried about the season not going through completely, knowing that they would have reduced gate revenue coming in, that they potentially could have a salary cap cut in half. So they set a floor at 175 to say, worst case scenario, we will not go below 175. But even at 175, you had teams like New Orleans, 90 million over, the Eagles, 50 million over. In fact, you had about 14 teams that were in the red and other ones that were just close to that number. Well, they're going to get $5 million worth of cap relief. So it looks like the salary cap is going to be 180 million. What does that mean? Well, depending on which sites you use, what we were looking at before with over the cap, okay, over the cap is kept it set at 175. Their projection before the change here is $19 million for the Dallas Cowboys. So add to that 5 million. So that means the Cowboys have 24 million. 24 million currently on the cap. And let me explain a couple things to you because a lot of people don't seem to understand this. MG is one that's like, oh, the Cowboys only have 18 million. They can't sign Dak, so screw him. He's gonna walk. Can't franchise him. Can't get him a long-term deal. It's nothing new. Well, let's stop right there. Understand that the cap is like funny money. Okay, it's kind of like when you invest money. They talk about buckets, like you have real estate, you have cash, you have the stock market. You just kind of move the money around to different things. Some of them will have better tax advantages than others, and in which case it doesn't look like you have money. You know, there's before tax investment and after tax investments and things like that. You still have the same amount of money. It's just how does it look when the government looks at it? Well, this is the same thing. You still have X amount of money. It's just how you show the NFL where it is. So currently the Cowboys have 25 million. Well, they have a $100 million contract with Amari Cooper per se. Okay? 2 years of which was guaranteed 40 million. They could go through and say, well, your base salary is $20 million this year. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to say that money is bonus money. We'll add an extra year that's voidable on the end of the contract, and we'll spread it out through the rest of the contract. So what that means is you turn around and you have a cap hit of this year of like 5 million. And you just increase money going forward. And eventually you can just kind of void that contract of last year. So there's ways of grabbing, and that's just $15 million just from one guy, from Amari Cooper. And you got to look and say, well, right now we're only on the hook for one more year at $20 million. The numbers he put up, he should be good for 2 years. That move alone puts you at 39 million. And I'm not suggesting that the Dallas Cowboys end up keeping Dak on a franchise tag. Ultimately, you're better off doing a longer term deal, whether it's 4 or 5, or as Todd Archer said, 6 years. Don't think Dak's going to sign 6, but you can do that and do the same thing with his contract. Because here's what you can do. If you just do that with Amari Cooper, you get $39 million. You get Dak Prescott under contract. You can make his first year about $22 million. He can get his money where he feels good, feels loved by the team, and still have about $18 million to use in free agency. That's without cutting a single player. And what you can look at is say, you know what? We have some June 1st cuts where we can maximize. And I'm not suggesting anybody to cut, but for example, if you cut Jalen Smith right now, you get 400,000. You cut Jalen Smith after June 1st, you get about $5.6 million. That's almost enough to sign your rookies. So these are the things that you can play with as far as the salary cap goes to get money. So don't be fooled to think that teams aren't going to be able to do anything. But now that the NFL has set the bar, teams know what number they have to work towards to get to. So we'll definitely be looking at a lot of this, and there are teams that truly have financial issues where they've got to gut the roster. Now they know exactly how far they have to gut the roster and what contracts they're going to have to restructure. So this is where it gets to be interesting. And the final piece on this will be that I have to say is when you look at free agency this year, because the salary cap did drop $18 million. Teams are not going to have as much money to spend in free agency, and that means supply and demand. You don't have the money to buy. The price for free agents is going to go down. It's going to be a repressed market, and this is the time where you can probably get some really good players at a volume discount. Me personally, if I'm the GM, knowing that an Eagles are having a fire sale, knowing that New Orleans, with all the great players they have, are going to have a fire sale, that there's going to be players that I can add to my roster, knowing that I'm going to get a boost because I'm getting some of my offensive line back and my quarterback. All these teams out here that went through this season looking and saying, if we could just get a quarterback, just like I'm trying to get a heart, and hope that they can get a big boost by getting a quarterback. The Cowboys can do that by having Dak Prescott signed. That alone will make this team better than where it was last year. Now I can go through and I can, just kind of take a chance, okay? I'm gonna use my payday loan. I'm going to get some cash so I can invest and get big payoffs down the road. And that's where they should be right now. Again, I'm not the GM. I'm not an owner of an NFL team. I'm just a guy broadcasting to you my thoughts, my opinions on what'll work. But what I do know is what we have been doing over the last 25 years, other than selling tickets and merchandise, has not been working in comparison to what's been working for other teams. And we need to start looking at this thing differently. The Dallas Cowboys have to be the definition of insanity. They just do. We keep doing the same thing, expecting a different result. And we as fans just keep following along with the same thing. All right, y'all. Be ready. There's going to be, I guarantee you, between now and Tuesday, you're going to start seeing a lot of big names being cut. So stay tuned. Hold on to your hats, because everybody, they're going to say, the Cowboys should sign, blah, 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 blah. See ya.